What we don't know can hurt us. And, the key here is education.
Yes.
Right?
People always say knowledge is power. And I'm like, knowledge is power if you utilize it, if you listen and take action on it. Hi, everyone. This is Raina Carrillo with Purpose and Passion. I'm really excited because I have an awesome guest. But before I go into that introduction, I wanted to share with you guys that the Phoenix Rising Coalition and the Project Pot Drop, we are collaborating together with other nonprofit organizations to give back to the city of Inglewood for our free food giveaway. Now, let me share with you guys that we're going to be giving free underwears, free socks, free haircuts, free food, and free groceries and more. So I hope you guys can meet us this Saturday on 108th and Crenshaw, right next to Winchell's, but it will be there at that location. And so today I have the lovely Lioness Ebbay. She is a lawyer. And you know me, I love lawyers because somehow, some way I dream through them because I've always kind of wanted to be a lawyer, a criminal lawyer, but just didn't have the tenacity to do it. But guess what? Today we're talking about living trust and educating our community. Purpose and passion is about educating, empowering, and teaching awareness. And so today we have Lioness. Lawyer, yes, lawyer Ebbay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Raina, for inviting me and for this opportunity to talk about living trust, estate planning, and why it's important for everybody to have an estate plan in place.
Great. So before we go into Collins Law Group, I want you to share your story to the viewers. Like, where are your parents from? Where did you grow up? And how was your childhood? And when you were in high school or elementary, did the teacher ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? And then did you respond lawyer?
Yeah, that's okay. That's a whole lot. Okay. So I am actually first generation Filipino American.
I love you guys.
So my family came here from the Philippines in the early 80s. My dad ended up joining the U.S. Navy. Mm-hmm. We settled in South San Diego. Because San Diego is a huge Navy town. Yes. And, it's interesting because I was thinking about this. For me, America was a lot of brown growing up. Like, I didn't understand that America was, I didn't understand the white America when I was growing up, because in South San Diego, it's a lot of Blacks. It's a lot of Hispanics. We're 3 miles away from the border where I grew up. So I had a lot of, Hispanic best friends, Black best friends, a lot of Asians, a lot of Filipinos, right? And it wasn't until I actually left high school and realized, like, oh my goodness, the world is a really big place. So, growing up for me, I saw a lot of minority families prospering. Right. Really living out the American dream and really accomplishing what they set out to do when they left their respective home countries. And that was really inspiring. I think it's interesting because when I was like 6, I thought I was going to be an attorney. And in my head, an attorney was a person who carried around a legal pad and kind of bossed everyone around. My poor brother and sister growing up, right? This is what they had to deal with. But then when I got closer to college, I wanted to be a pediatrician.
Okay, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. And then, I kind of found my way back to the law because I realized when I graduated college that I did not want to, do that. And it was a choice between business school and law school. Mm-hmm. And it was really my experiences after college that led me back to the law. And I actually thought I was going to grow up and be an immigration attorney.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? And then, everything has been organic that just led me to estate planning. And I'm so glad I found estate planning. I think that I'm going to be one of the few attorneys that you find that are actually happy in their profession because, I really get a chance to connect with families and preserve their legacies and protect their families in a really, really meaningful way.
Yes. Well, the reason why I wanted you here is because, I'm all about resources.
Yeah.
And when I was running for office last year, I was canvassing our community, knocking on 4,000 doors. Mm-hmm. And in this area we're in is called Lock Haven. and it's predominantly Latino.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one of the mothers when I was going out canvassing, I had a translator that don't speak Spanish, and so she mentioned to the volunteer, "Do you have resources to protect our homes?"
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of threw me a little bit a
Mm-hmm.
loop, right? Because I'm like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
running for office. What the
Mm-hmm.
heck is
Mm-hmm.
to protect the house, And I
Mm-hmm.
start thinking, and then all of a sudden, epiphany happened, right? Where you're just like, okay, protecting the house means like a trust, to protect the home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe an estate if they have more than one home or
Mm-hmm.
something like
Right,
that.
right.
And so that's not my expertise, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw you at the Inglewood Rotary Club, you and your team,
Mm-hmm.
and sharing and educating others, I said to myself, okay, maybe the Orange County lady fell off because I'm supposed to work with somebody in the community in Inglewood, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I want you to educate our viewers a little bit of like defining what that is and why is it important to have this as a
Mm-hmm.
homeowner.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
So, well, first of all, let's just reference the fact that, it's so much harder for minority communities to build our wealth than our white counterparts.
Yes.
It's hard. And so for us to have a house in the family means a whole lot because, like I said, I come from an immigrant family. And so, to have a mom and a dad that do not speak English as their primary language, to buy a first home here in California, which is not a cheap state,
Yes,
right?
it's not.
And LA County is like, the average home in LA County is now what? Almost $700,000.
Yes.
And you can get a home for a third that in Nashville and 5 acres, so it means so much more here in Los Angeles and working with minority communities to protect what we've built and to really pass it on, right? A lot of people just don't have the knowledge.
Mhm.
They just don't know. And so when you told me, that you were running for mayor and somebody had asked you this question, that's normal for you to respond that way. Well, what do we do to protect our house? What do we do? People just don't know. And, this is one of the reasons why I love what I do, because it really isn't about sitting behind a desk. Actually, before this, I had a talk in Torrance. So, it's really about, educating the community. And, what people don't understand is that when you own a home, and you don't even have to own the home by yourself. What I'm seeing in families is I own it with my sister.
Yes.
I own it with my mother. There's 3 of us on title. When you own a home, you need a living trust.
Yes.
That's it. That's the golden rule. You can own 1/10 of an apartment building. You still need a living trust, right? And the laws are about to change here in California in July with regard to Medi-Cal. Right. So we've all heard about Medi-Cal, right?
Yes.
If you don't have regular health insurance, or you don't have long-term care insurance, or you don't have the money to pay for a senior care facility or a memory care facility, you might end up needing Medi-Cal in your life. And right now, for a single person to qualify for Medi-Cal, one of the things that you need to check off is you have $2,000 or less in a bank account, or all 5 of your bank accounts put together. Whatever that is, it cannot be more than $2,000 for one single person. In July, that's going up to $130,000. What does that mean? If you have $129,000 in a bank account, they'll take you in July. Medi-Cal will take you. They'll say, yep, you can come and we can avail you of our services and you'll be fine. But Medi-Cal's crafty, because what they're planning on doing is, if you don't plan accordingly, if you don't plan your estate accordingly, and you pass away with $100,000 in your bank account, they're going to swoop in and take it. So that means that $100,000 was not for your spouse. It was not for your children. It was not for your grandbabies or whoever it was you wanted to leave a blessing to. They're taking it. So what does that mean for me? It now means that my clientele is not just property owners.
Yes.
It's now people who have 6 figures in their bank accounts. And I did that for the first time in January of this year. I had a couple come from Louisiana. They sold their home for about $275,000. And now they've got just about that much in a bank account. And so for a married couple, you can have about $265,000 in your bank account and still qualify for Medi-Cal, right? Because for single individuals, 130, for married couples, double that, right? And I had to form a trust for them, just for the money in the bank to protect it from Medi-Cal recovery, because we already knew that the husband was going to go on Medi-Cal recovery and the wife was going to sign on to be a caregiver. And they moved in with their son here in Inglewood, Carlson Square. And we got it together for them in time. Yeah. In time for them to qualify for that. So, again, it's what we don't know. What we don't know can hurt us. And, the key here is education. Yes. Right?
People always say knowledge is power. And I'm like, knowledge is power if you utilize it, if you listen and take action on it.
It's true.
You can read a book all day and that's it. There's no knowledge.
It's true.
Because you're not applying it. You're not taking action.
Right. And, the problem with living trust is white America has known about this for a long, long time. Yes. Right? You look at the senators on Capitol Hill, you look at, the representatives, and they're all a product of living trust and generational wealth. And the minority communities, we're still trying to get hip to that.
Yes.
I can't even tell you how many married couples I'm sitting down with, Black, Asian, Hispanic, and they're still kind of suspicious about the concept.
Yes, they are.
Right?
Especially the brown people. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, absolutely. And I've spoken to so many families. It's like, well, grandpa didn't have a living trust. But then when I ask, well, how did you get grandpa's house? They're very quick to tell me probate. So it's like probate is a way of life and not estate planning.
Yeah, probate is not a way of life.
And it's not. And it's crazy because I've been to probate court. I've been to Stanley Moss Courthouse. And it was amazing. It was such a wake-up call to me in terms of, just putting it into context of what I do professionally. So when you go to probate, all of the Browns are there. All of the Browns are there trying to collect their assets, trying to move the case along, and try to bypass the fighting. They're all there with a problem. And, the white counterparts I'm seeing are the attorneys. Mm-hmm. They're the judges. But all of the Browns are all of us in the crowd sitting, trying to move our case. Yes. And that's crazy to me. That's crazy. That's how much of an education and knowledge gap there is in the community. Yes. That all of the minorities are still trying to figure out why we need a living trust.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what would you tell a person that doesn't have a living trust that owns a home right now? Mm-hmm. Why would it be important for them to have a living trust?
Yeah. Well, you've just worked so hard for these assets. You've worked so hard for this home that you live in. You've worked really hard for those bank accounts. If you have children, I'm a mother. I get you. You've worked really hard to build this legacy, and you don't want your kids to spend one day in court for these things that you've worked so hard for.
Yes.
You don't want your spouse. Everybody thinks if I'm married, it's automatic. If I'm married, it's automatic. You can sign documents for me. You can go to the bank for me. But that marriage certificate will only take you so far. It only means that you're married.
Yes.
That's all it means, right? And so, you have to have these power of attorneys in place. You have to have the living trust in place, because otherwise there's no other way to pass your wealth on without court interference, without problems in probate.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
So a little bit about the founder of the law firm, her name.
Yes.
Like my mom asked me, she was like, ask her if her family from Louisiana. Like, where's her family from?
Okay. So Attorney Collins, she is the principal attorney and she's the founding attorney of the Collins Law Group, where I'm an associate attorney. And she's actually been a practicing attorney for over 4 decades here in Inglewood. She was born in Compton. So she's, totally homegrown. And she just went to Louisiana last year to research her roots. Her grandmother was living in Texas for a while, but she does have roots in Louisiana for sure.
And that's crazy because my mom was like, she looks like a relative.
Yeah.
So my mom is half Mexican, half Creole.
Yes.
My mom is born in Port Arthur, Texas.
Okay.
But our family, her mother was born on Avery Island, Louisiana, where they make the Tabasco sauce.
Okay.
So that's
so
family, my family used to work for them.
Oh.
Back in the days.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
And, so that's like the history for our
I just got chills.
Yeah. So that's why my mom was asking. So I'm happy she's finding her roots because I did my DNA on Ancestry.com.
Okay.
And I'm not surprised of my Black roots, but I was surprised that it was 25%.
Okay.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like,
that's
oh my gosh.
Yeah,
it is because it's like, when I look back, like at my ancestors, obviously, it was a European man that mixed in with a Native American African woman, whichever happened, right? And then they start mixing and going light to where they look white, right? So my great grandfather, his name is Norman DeRuin. And great grandpa had blue eyes and looked like a pure white man.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I remember
he could pass.
Yes, he definitely could pass.
Yeah.
And I just remember when I was at Worthington Elementary, the kids told me, there's a white man waiting for you in a green Cadillac or something. And I said, I know what the green Cadillac is. That's my great grandpa.
Yeah.
But he ain't white. I didn't know nothing about color. At the time.
Yeah.
And so when I jumped in the car, I remember asking my great grandfather, Grandpa, can I ask you a question? And he said, yeah, sure, go ahead and ask me a question. I said, Grandpa, are you white? And he said, why, yes. As he had a soft voice.
Yeah.
I said, because they told me there's a white man waiting for you.
Who that?
And my great grandfather Norman said, I am white from the exterior.
Yep.
But I'm a French Creole. So I have a lot of white blood in me. So that's why I look white. But I'm mixed Black and Indian and Spanish. And I'm just like, okay. And that was the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
So when I seen, the woman that founded her law firm, she reminds me of our Creole family. And that's why I asked.
Right. Because phenotypically, Attorney Collins, she's blonde, she's pale skinned, she's got green eyes. And it's funny because one of my colleagues, I had said something. I said, well, yeah, I'm going to this Black alumni event, because, of my boss. And my colleague said, but your boss is white. And I said, no, girl, she's Black. Her daddy is dark. But her mother, it's passed through like the female line on her side. And they look like that. Very phenotypically white. Yeah. It's interesting.
I like history,
Yes.
It's inspiring to see a woman of color owning her own law firm, especially in the city of Inglewood, because I'm Inglewood girl.
Oh my goodness.
You know what I mean? And so that's very, very inspiring.
So it's crazy that you say that because we actually belong to the American Academy of Estate Planning Attorneys. It is a nationwide organization made up of solely estate planning practitioners. So this is all we do. We don't do bankruptcy on the side. We don't do personal injury. All we do is estate planning very strictly, right? And the diversity in this organization is just, it disappoints me sometimes, because, and I'm bringing this up because you are shedding light on the fact that she is a minority, attorney who owns her own business. We are one of 3 Black-owned law firms that is part of this nationwide organization. Wow. There is and I'm Filipino, there is one Filipino, and we're going to call her Asian. There's one Asian-owned law firm that is a part of this organization. There was a Hispanic-owned law firm. They're not there anymore. Wow. So that's where, diversity in the legal field, diversity in estate planning, it's lacking.
Yes. And I like the fact that you guys are diverse because, just as a human being, you're like, okay, you have an Asian, you have a Latina, you have African American, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And so it's like, okay, there's diversity.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, like for myself, a lot of people says, you were the first, Mexican American, first Latina to run for mayor of Inglewood. How did that feel? And I said, I really didn't even know I was the first until somebody told me I was the first, because I was already thinking there's 2 council members in the city of Inglewood that are brown, that are Latinos. I'm assuming they're Mexican, because Inglewood was Mexico once. This is our roots. Our people were here, before, I don't like to say colonizers, but you know what I mean?
Yes.
Europeans and the Spaniards. And so I think back into the history of how this used to all be Mexico. And then that individual that owned land here in Inglewood, when he got bought out, there's a lot of trickery in the story. But in my heart, in my spirit, I know that he wasn't fully bought out, but pushed out. And so they sent him towards Alameda. So you know how they say the proof of the first Mexican home, Spanish home built is on Alameda. They still have it there.
Okay.
They still have the original home.
Oh, wow.
Way before any of us being here in California. You know what I mean? And so the history is very pure. And so for me, I said to myself, in 4 years, I'm going to run for mayor of Inglewood. If it's meant for me, I'm going to be at that seat and I'm going to make my ancestors proud. Yeah. Because I will be the first woman mayor, the first woman of color, the first Mexican American, and the first Creole. You know what I mean? So that's like 4 titles projecting to make everyone proud.
Absolutely.
And in my Creole side, I have Filipino family. And let me tell you, when I flat iron my hair, people think I'm Filipino. They start talking to me.
You could be Hawaiian.
And, they think I'm like, Raina, are you Tongan, Polynesian, Hawaiian? So I'm very diverse because I know of my culture. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I'm going to tell you, my favorite dish is pancetta. Oh, my gosh.
Now I know.
Yeah, so I'm going to be calling you. I'm like, when are you going to make that?
You, girl. I got you. Yeah. No, it's, and the thing about Inglewood is it's mostly Hispanic owned.
Yeah, but it's a, we call it, in the spiritual realm, it's called history repeats itself through history. Okay. So for example, I'm about to show you a little history.
Okay.
So in the beginning, this was Mexico, right? And then the Mexicans got pushed out. Then the whites came in.
Right.
They ran it for a minute.
Right.
Then the blacks moved in.
Yes.
The KKK didn't like that over here in Inglewood. But they didn't win because they got exposed. So then they moved out. The blacks moved in. And then Inglewood was called the black community of Inglewood, right? Where it was predominantly African American. So now what happens, history comes again. The brown moved in, right? Now what's happening now? The whites are moving in.
Yep.
Through the gentrification.
Of course.
So it's just history repeating itself.
Right.
And I always tell people, because of the diverse background of myself, with white family, with Asian family, with black family, with brown family, with Native American family, and all the in-betweens, I feel like as long as we can live in harmony and respect, which respect is the first.
Yeah.
Because if you respect each other, you can live in harmony with each other.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's going to always be prejudice. There's always going to be racism. But if you can just respect each other, we can all live in harmony. And so for me, I feel like I'm not scared of whites moving to Inglewood. What I'm scared is the gentrification of a 3-bedroom apartment being $6,500 that a black and brown, or even a middle-class white person, or low-income white, brown, black, Asian people in that bracket cannot afford.
Cannot.
And so we get pushed out.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the part that it's unfair.
Yes,
I'm like,
I agree.
3 bedrooms or
$6,500. What are you referring? Are you referring to the apartments across from the SoFi?
Yes, it's insane.
I saw that and I was like, that's more than my mortgage.
And then you got $1 million houses right down on Prairie, across the street from the cemetery. Yeah. $1 million houses with no backyard.
Yeah, no backyard. No.
So
backyard. I'm
just like, wow, this is crazy. But I feel like if God would have gave me the seat, they've abused the low income process. They've abused that. They said low income, and it's 3 bedrooms for $3,000. That's not low income for some people. And
that's a mortgage in most places in America.
It is. And so for me, I'm like, well, let's create permanent housing. Let's find, vacant lots or those drug homes that haven't been done nothing, create some permanent housing for the original Ingles. You know what I mean? So that's a whole nother subject. But I'm very passionate about Inglewood. I'm very passionate about my community.
Absolutely.
I'm very grateful that you're here today to educate our viewers, because One thing about myself is I always tell people, you buy a home. When you purchase a home, you get life insurance. Once you get life insurance, whether it's if your mortgage is 30 years, then get you a 30-year term.
Absolutely.
That's going to be more affordable than a permanent life insurance.
Right.
That's going to be the
Right.
cost of that home. But
Yes.
at least you know that within the 30 years, if one of you guys pass away,
Yeah.
that house is paid.
Covered. Mhm.
But then once you get that life insurance, contact Lioness.
Right.
And make sure you get
Right.
your trust ASAP. So then
Yeah.
everything is protected for that legacy. Because that's what leaving a legacy is
Yes.
when you purchase property,
Mhm.
you make sure it's paid off when somebody passes away, and that trust to protect. And so I'm excited to collaborate with you, to also, educate our community for your Thursdays workshops, but also try to see if we can bring the
Whenever.
workshop here as well
Whenever.
in the
Mhm.
local area where I can canvas more on foot. I love the city of
Absolutely.
Inglewood in general, but because my heart is in Lock Haven where I grew up,
Mhm.
this is my priority.
Okay.
A lot of people tell me, why are you running for mayor? Just run for councilwoman. I said, no, man, I want to go for the juggler.
Make
That's
it hurt.
just
Make it
me.
hurt.
Yeah, that's just me. I'm like, no, I don't want to be a councilman. I want to be the mayor of Inglewood. That's
Yes.
just since I was 15. So I'm going to
Yes.
try one more shot.
Yes.
So is there anything you want to share with the viewers, like the website, your social
sure.
media?
Yeah. So we do have a social media presence. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and it is the Collins Law Group. If you Google it, there may be another one that pops up in New Jersey, but we're based here in Inglewood, right next to the Forum, corner of Crenshaw and Manchester. We have a website, collinslawgroup.com. Our office number is 310-677-9787. I had to keep my San Diego roots.
Yes,
right?
nothing wrong with that.
I'm a San Diegan forever. Even though, I have been based out here in Inglewood for 17 years now.
Wow.
I know. You can blame my husband. He trapped me, and I've been here ever since, and I've not regretted it. I do.
Beautiful.
Like you, I love Inglewood. My kids go to Inglewood schools. And I think it's funny that you talked about those houses across from the cemetery. I have one of those houses. So
But it's okay because you can afford it.
but here's the thing. And this is what kills me. I love Inglewood. I live in a neighborhood that is young, young families, up and coming. We love our children. I'm the only parent sending my child to an Inglewood school.
Yes, I hear you.
Everybody out there going to Culver City.
Private schools.
Everybody's asking me, why am I not sending my child to a private school? But this is our community.
Yeah.
This is who we are. And, one of the things that I love about Inglewood, and even though gentrification's real and it's happening,
Yes.
there's a diversity here that my children are not going to get in El Segundo.
I agree.
Okay. And my husband's Black. So I got these little mixed babies running around, and I need them to be with their own.
Yeah.
I need you to feel that. And that's not something that you're going to learn out in Westchester. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's just
no,
not.
I hear you.
I
I hear you. And most of our, back in the 90s, the school districts in Inglewood was off the hook because of gangs, right? So people would literally ship their African-American kids to Westchester High because they did not want them to go to Morningside or Inglewood High because of the issues.
Right.
And so, but for me, I didn't have that choice.
Right.
And even though I grew up in that environment, I'm going to tell you something. It actually built my character and myself.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Being street smart, being book smart,
yes.
Knowing your community, and just being around of diversity. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's the truth. And then you actually, when you get to a junior college or a trade school or a university, you realize that, yes, it kind of sucked in the Inglewood School District, but now you understand, more better that where you're going ahead is making you better educational wise because you went through a rough patch in the school district.
Right.
But not every school district is bad, because I just opened up my eyes and did not know. I think it's Parent Elementary. It's near Ladera Heights.
Yep, that's Parent.
I had no idea that was Inglewood. I went to go speak regarding my nonprofit, the Phoenix Rising Coalition.
Right.
And I remember saying something to myself, wow, I wish Worthington Elementary looked like this school. You you know? So that's why I have, small issues with LACO and a little bit of the Inglewood School District of how they are shutting down Worthington.
Yes.
And they've never once put money into that school. And we have $1 billion budget that we can fix that school, but they're closing it down.
They are. And, I think their goal is to close down one a year, every year for the next 3 is what.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's an interesting.
Yeah.
It's an interesting, and because my kids are in Inglewood Unified, it really woke me up about, yes, the school district is also a business.
Yes.
Right. And that's sad. It's sad to see it that way because our children are suffering.
Because it's like right now, like Woodworth, the original school is closed and it's been closed forever. Nobody hasn't touched anything.
Right.
So they sell us a dream saying, we're going to make this into condos. We're going to make this for affordable housing.
Where is it? Yeah.
So you didn't have to close the school down until you knew that somebody was going to buy it or purchase it.
Right.
So it's just vacant land there, making it look ugly.
Yes.
And for me, I'm taking it personal because Worthington is my alma mater.
Sure.
That's where I went to school at.
Yes.
And so they talked about, we're not going to build condos here. We're going to maybe do a YMCA. So I hope and pray that if they decide to close it down and create a YMCA, that they put a monument that talks about the history of Worthington Elementary.
Yes.
So it's not forgotten.
Sure.
Center Park Elementary turned to Worthington Elementary.
Yeah.
And that's the history, at least for people like us that love the school.
Yeah. It's part of you.
Yes,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for educating. How can our viewers find you on Instagram?
Yeah. Find us on Instagram, Facebook. We've got a website, collinslawgroup.com. You can call us 310-677-9787. You can call me 619-245-5688.
Well, this has been an interesting conversation, very informative and educational. Well, this is Raina Carrillo with Purpose and Passion. Thank you, Luxe Media. Signing out. Until next time. Peace. Nothing else.